Right, let's get this show on the road. Hello my loves and welcome back. I want you to imagine for a second that we live in a world where time machines exist. And I'm gonna hop into a time machine and go back to the year 2000 and something. The year that I became a teenager, and I'm going to sit down with Mini Meg. Oh, that sounds like Mini Egg, which is very fitting for this time of year as we celebrate Easter. Actually, fun fact, when I was little, my sister couldn't say Megs, so she called me Eggs. Anyway, sidetracked. This video is basically the stuff that I would have shared with her, the advice I would have given her, having made it through my teenage years. And I'm sure you can all relate that we go through situations in life that we live and we learn from our mistakes and from the stuff that happens. And yeah, this is basically just the advice that I would give to my teenage self. So the first thing that I would say to little old Meg would be that your story matters. So for me, I grew up in a Christian home. I always went to church. I always believed in God, and whenever I would go to Christian events, there would always be people on the stage who would be sharing their testimonies, and these would be testimonies where they had been like drug addicts for years and then they encountered Jesus and they hadn't touched drugs again since and their lives were transformed. Or maybe they were stories of people who hadn't grown up in Christian homes, they never knew Jesus, they lived life their own way, doing their own thing, and then they encountered Jesus and their lives are transformed and now they're off evangelizing to the world. And it would always be stories like that. Now those stories are absolutely incredible and they are such a testament to God's love and God's grace and his mercy and his power, and they are so amazing. But for me, having grown up always believing in God, going to church my whole life, I felt like my story didn't matter, and I felt like no one would be able to relate to my story, and I wanted my story to impact people. I wanted my story to have like an effect on people and for people to be able to relate with it, but I felt like nobody would ever be able to relate with my story unless I rebelled and then had this like pinnacle moment where I met Jesus again and my life was transformed. And so part of the reason when I was a teenager I started to live life for myself was because of my insecurities and the fear that kind of had a hold on me in my teenage years. But it was also because I thought that in order for my story to be relatable to people and in order for my story to impact people in the future, I was going to have to do that, and I was going to have to rebel and then have this like pinpoint moment where I come back to Jesus. But actually like that's a load of rubbish, and it's crazy that I thought that, because your story matters and my story mattered. And so even if I'd grown up in a Christian home always believing in God and had never rebelled, had never done anything, you know, like crazy, or hadn't lived for myself, then that story still would have impacted people and it still would have connected with people. And so that's one thing that I would have said to myself, is that your story matters. And also the thing about our testimonies is that they're just a testament to God's love, and we don't need to hype up our testimonies. Like I thought in order for people to want to hear my story, in order for it to impact people, that I was going to have to hype it up and exaggerate stuff and things like that. But actually I've learned that like our stories don't need hyping. Like God doesn't need hyping up. Like all we need to do is be honest about our journey with God, about the things that he has done in our life, and that will impact somebody, because it's not our words that actually impact them, it's the Holy Spirit. That is one thing I would definitely say to myself, is your story matters. So the next thing that I would say to Mini Meg would be, don't take yourself so seriously. So I know that as a teenager it's so hard because your body is changing, your hormones are just on a mad one, and let me tell you, with that, like, it doesn't get easier. Hormones are just ridiculous, like, oh, the bane of my life. But yeah, so you're going through all of this stuff and your body is changing and kind of your emotions are changing, and it can be hard to understand what's happening. But I am naturally quite weird, and I honestly think that everybody is weird in their own way, and everybody has those different ways that they express their weirdness and that they get it out there, and I think that's a good thing. But when I was a teenager I was scared of people and I was scared of what people would think of me. So I thought if I embraced my weirdness in its fullness, if I was like a weirdo at school, then people wouldn't like me, people would think I was weird, and it was just this like vicious cycle. But honestly, like, if I had learned as a teenager not to take yourself too seriously and not to care what other people think, then I genuinely think my teenage years would have been far more enjoyable, because I would have just been like enjoying life and not being worried about what other people would think, and embracing that weirdness. So embrace your weirdness. Like, everybody is weird in their own way, and it's beautiful. It's a lush thing. So I would definitely tell her, don't take yourself too seriously and lighten up a bit. And then the final thing I would say, I mean, there's so much that I would say to little old me, but the final thing I think I would say would be to make the most of it. So as I said previously, I grew up in a Christian home and I've always known God, I've always believed in God. I am actually going to do a testimony video at some point when I get around to filming it, so there hopefully you will learn more about my story as a whole. But I've always believed in God, but when I was in school I was ashamed of that, and I feared what people would think if they knew that I believed in Jesus. But the thing is that I had so many opportunities to share the good news of Jesus with my friends, because I had a lot of different like pockets of friends growing up. So I did like a lot of different stuff. So I had my school friends, I had my church friends, I went to a life-saving club, so I had my friends there. I went to like drama school, so I had my friends there. So I had loads of like different pocket of friendship groups, and I honestly believe that if I hadn't have been ashamed of my faith, and if I hadn't let the fear take over, and if I had been as passionate then as I am now about sharing the good news of Jesus and sharing the love of Jesus with those people, I honestly believe that at least one of them would have become a Christian in that time. But I let the fear take over, and I let the shame like overwhelm me, and so I didn't bother to live out my faith whatsoever. I didn't make the most of those opportunities. And so what I would definitely say to little Meg now is just to make the most of those opportunities. That is one of the things, I think that is the biggest thing that I regret in life, is how long it took me to find that confidence and that boldness in Jesus. Yeah, those are pretty much all of the things that I would say to little me. Hopefully this has encouraged you, whether you're a teenager trying to figure out faith, whether you've been a Christian all your life, whether you've been a Christian for an hour, whether you're an adult, like whatever season of life you're in, I pray that this has encouraged you. And to be honest, like, it's stuff that I would say to my little self, but it's also stuff that I would say to myself now, and there are times where I have to remind myself of that. Like, I have to remind myself to make the most of this moment that I'm in. I have to remind myself to not take myself too seriously. Those are things that I still have to remind myself of. I really pray that whatever stage of life you are in, this video has encouraged you. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and also hit the subscribe button. I upload videos every week. I set myself a challenge for 2018, and that was to upload a video every single week of the year, and we are in April and we are doing well so far, so I am so proud of myself. So to keep up to date with the videos and so that you don't miss any, please do hit the subscribe button down below. Also, please do let me know in the comments below what things you would say to your teenage self, because I would love to know what those things would be. So let me know in the comments what you would say to your teenage self, to your younger self. Give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you again very soon. Bye! Sweet doggy. What's that from?